Passage will start after 5 seconds abruptly. Living in harmony with nature is not new to us. Sustainable living has always been an integral part of India's tradition and culture. It has been integrated with our long lasting traditions and practices, customs, art and crafts, festivals, food, beliefs, rituals, and folklore. Ingrained within us is the philosophy that entire natural world be in harmony, which is reflected in the famous phrase in Sanskrit Vasudev Kutumbakam, that means the entire earth is one family. The phrase is mentioned in Maha Upanishad, that is probably a part of the ancient Indian text Atharva Ved. We often hear or read about environmental problems. These are often global level problems and we feel helpless to bring any change. There are international laws and regulations, and then there are our own national laws and acts for environmental protection. There are also national and international organizations working towards protecting our environment. Awareness about the problems caused by unthinkingly exploiting our resources has been a fairly recent phenomenon in our society. And once this awareness rises, some action is usually taken. You must have heard about the Ganga Action Plan. This multi-crore project came about in 1985 because the quality of the water in the Ganga was very poor. Coliform is a group of bacteria found in human intestines whose presence in water indicates contamination by disease-causing microorganisms. Not just roads and buildings, but all the things we use or consume: food, clothes, books, toys, furniture, tools, and vehicles are obtained from resources on this earth. The only thing we get from outside is energy we receive from the sun. Even this energy is processed by living organisms and various physical and chemical processes on the earth before we make use of it. Why do we need to use our resources carefully? Because these are not unlimited, and with the human population increasing at a tremendous rate due to improvement in healthcare, the demand for all resources is increasing at an exponential rate. The management of natural resources requires a long-term perspective so that these will last for the generations to come and will not merely be exploited to the hilt for the short-term gains. This management should also ensure equitable distribution of resources so that all, and not just a handful of rich and powerful people, benefit from the development of these resources. Another factor to be considered while we exploit these natural resources is the damage we cause to the environment while these resources are either extracted or used. For example, mining causes pollution because of the large amount of slag which is discarded for every ton of metal extracted. Hence, sustainable natural resource management demands that we plan for the safe disposal of these wastes too. The present-day global concerns for sustainable development and conservation of natural resources are of recent origin as compared to the long tradition and culture of nature conservation in our country. Principles of conservation and sustainable management were well established in the prehistoric India. Our ancient literature is full of such examples where values and sensitivity of humans towards nature was glorified and the principle of sustainability was established at its best. During the Vedic period, both productive and protective aspects of forest vegetation were emphasized. Agriculture emerged as a dominant economic activity during the later Vedic period. This was the time when the concept of cultural landscape such as sacred forests and groves, sacred corridors, and a variety of ethnoforestry practices were evolved that continued to the post-Vedic period. Besides, a wide range of ethnoforestry practices were infused with the traditions, customs, and rituals and followed as a means for protection of nature and natural resource. Forests are biodiversity hotspots. One measure of the biodiversity of an area is the number of species found there. However, the range of different life forms, bacteria, fungi, ferns, flowering plants, nematodes, insects, birds, reptiles, and so on, found is also important. One of the main aims of conservation is to try and preserve the biodiversity we have inherited. Experiments and field studies suggest that loss of diversity may lead to loss of ecological stability. Lastly, we come to the nature and wildlife enthusiasts who are in no way dependent on the forests but who may have considerable say in their management. The conservationists were initially taken up with large animals like lions, tigers, elephants, and rhinoceros. They now recognize the need to preserve biodiversity as a whole. But shouldn't we recognize people as forming part of the forest system? There have been enough instances of local people working traditionally for conservation of forests. For example, the case of Bishnoi's community living in western Rajasthan on the border of the Thar desert. Conservation of forest and wildlife has been a religious tenet for them. These nature-loving people have for centuries been conserving the flora and fauna to the extent of sacrificing their lives to protect the environment. They are living with the basic philosophy that all living things have a right to survive and share all resources. The Government of India has recently instituted an Amrita Devi Bishnoi National Award for Wildlife Conservation in the memory of Amrita Devi Bishnoi, who in 1731 sacrificed her life along with 363 others for the protection of khejri trees in Khejrali village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. Studies have shown that the prejudice against the traditional use of forest areas has no basis. Here is an example. The Great Himalayan National Park contains within its reserved area alpine meadows which were grazed by sheep in summer. Nomadic shepherds drove their flock up from the valleys every summer. When this national park was formed, this practice was put to an end. Now it is seen that without the regular grazing by sheep, the grass first grows very tall and then falls over, preventing fresh growth. Management of protected areas by keeping the local people out or by using force cannot possibly be successful in the long run. In any case, the damage caused to forests cannot be attributed to only the local people. One cannot turn a blind eye to the deforestation caused by industrial needs or development projects like building roads or dams. The damage caused in these reserves by tourists or the arrangements made for their convenience is also to be considered.